Hi there, and welcome to County Talk, boring but important. Um, this is where we look and start talking about what's the intricacies of the county, the nitty gritty things about county government that you may or may not know. And really, we've been calling it boring but important, but they've all been nothing but that, not boring at all. So, today is no exception. I'm Sue Hansen. I'm one of your elected county commissioners, and I'm here with our brand new county manager, Frank Rodriguez, and we're going to go deep and find out what you're really all about.
Yay.
So yay. So we're going to start from the beginning. I've known you because Olathe is part of my district, and so I have seen you for the last year and a half, just in the Olathe meetings, the town hall meetings, and getting to know you a little bit. Really impressed with your command presence and
Thank you.
leadership ability and that sort of thing. But you don't necessarily. I don't know how you feel about leaders, but not always are you born a leader, but you become a leader. You're shaped by your environment, and you have a strong family story. And I want you to start with your mom and sort of how you grew up in Oakland, and then we'll go to the bigger expanded family. But tell me about your mom and you growing up as a kid.
So, grew up in East Side Oakland. My dad left when I was 7. So it was really just my mom, my older sister, my older brother. I am the baby. We're first generation. My mother and father actually had immigrated into the United States through a program called the Bracero program, and brazos in Spanish means arms. And what it was that the United States of America actually had a deficit in workers as a result of World War II and Vietnam. So they were looking for people to immigrate into the country, become citizens, and then work. And as my mom says it, her small little town in Mexico, there was somebody going with a loudspeaker, saying that if you want to go to the United States of America and looking for work, please sign up. And her and my father did, and they came here with, I think, just about nothing. And then my brother, sister, and I were born here. My dad worked in the shipyards from what I can remember as a kid. And then my mom, she worked in textiles and then ended up going to school and became a ultrasound sonographer.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, she's amazing. So my dad left, and it was just us. I was an obstreperous child. My poor mom, you can imagine what do you do with this kid?
So I think you're going to have to just take a step back and then use what's obstreperous?
Obstreperous just means I was...
precocious?
Yes. High energy, and I got into a lot of trouble, which shouldn't be much of a surprise.
And then you went into law enforcement. Is that kind of how it goes?
Well, so my poor mom was working all the time, right? She's extremely busy trying to support a family on her own and buy a house, etc. So she's just an absolute example of, I think, what a parent should be. And her strength is something that to this day I am, very proud of and mesmerized by, because what she was able to do, her optimistic outlook, her relentlessness, her no quit attitude, really, I think in a young age, absolutely shaped me. I had a great example of, what to do in life and how to be successful, right? And
was she a disciplinarian? I mean, if your dad left, then
so she was a disciplinarian, and I will 100% tell you I deserved it. Yes, if she she used the belt, and I deserved it again. And that accountability piece was important, and it kept me, I think, on a good track. However, when I was in school, at the time, there was a lot of racial divide, and I was, if someone said anything, I didn't take it. And as a result, I was in the principal's office a lot and suspended a lot. So she enrolled me in sports, and I talked about heroes, right? My mom's been my hero, and I had coaches, teachers, and people that cared enough about me to hold me accountable, and that they became my surrogate fathers.
So you started out being pretty pushing the limits, the boundaries, and then you found a few mentors along the way, and then started shaping you into sort of the person that you are today.
Yes,
right.
I think put me on a track. You know what I mean? And I think showing, because I had obviously a void, not having a father, but to have a good, strong male model
Mm-hmm.
who cared enough about me, right, to take time and hold me accountable,
Mm-hmm.
as odd as that may seem, really resonated with me as a young man,
Right.
because um, they cared. And
Yeah.
I think if I've learned anything in life, is just that simple gesture of caring about somebody enough that you're going to invest time and the difference that they'll make. So yes, 100%, they started shaping me.
Right. And your mom still lives in Oakland? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. So you found your way into the military. That was a pathway that a lot of young extreporous kids, I
Yeah.
guess, would find their way into. So talk a little bit about that before we get into the rest of your, because here we are. Tell us what these pictures are. So, um,
So I'll start out with what got me in the
okay.
military. Didn't have too many options when I graduated high school. And my mom said, Mijo, I love you, but I can't afford to send you to college. You can't stay home. And that was, as I said, tough words to hear, but I believe harder words to say as a mom.
Hmm.
So I think 10 days after I graduated high school, I went to the military and really never went back home other than to visit. So when I went to the military, I think when I went in, I don't know that I would have liked who I was. I believe I was very selfish. Everything was about myself and what I could get out of it. And I think the military not only gave me purpose, but it gave me that selflessness, right? Serving, something, I
Something
think
bigger than you. Hmm.
higher than yourself. And that
So you went into the Army
right.
right out of high school.
Immediately went into the service.
Okay.
And actually,
And
I went into, believe it or not, I went into the Air Force
oh,
right after, and I went into a special unit called pararescuemen,
hmm,
and it was very, I think, enlightening because of the amount of standards that I had to make sure I maintained, physical standards,
hmm.
and attrition was to some extent a goal. So not to be able to quit was huge. So, anybody can Google pararescuemen. There's so much on it.
There was a lot of testing and rigorous kinds of
Yes,
qualification.
a ton of
Mm.
physical requirements, and then 2 years of training after that, and then essentially you're in the special operations arena. And I
Mhm.
stayed there really for the most part until I had the opportunity to serve. So I stayed a short time in the Air Force, excuse me, then transitioned over to the Army.
Mhm.
I went in enlisted. So enlisted, I was an E1, which is the lowest rank,
Right.
and I
So
ended up retiring.
non-com.
You're right,
And okay.
non-commissioned officer,
Mhm.
and then ended up becoming an officer and retired as a major
Mhm.
24 years later
Yeah.
after that.
Nice. So there's okay, so we have your family, your mom, your sister, and how you were raised. Then you had a sort of an army family, I'm supposing. And if
Mhm.
you're going into that kind of rigorous training, there's a lot of bonding between
Yes.
the colleagues. Um, and then you have this beautiful expanded family. So can we go back? Yeah. So here this is current. So
Correct.
you somewhere along the line you married Sue
Right.
and you had children. And so give us that story.
So I met my wife in high school. It was the second high school, and actually I got kicked out of her high school. Um,
Now wait a minute. She went to your high school?
well,
Oh no,
I
wait.
went to my first high school.
Are you sure you want to talk about
I
this?
know it's pretty tough, but it's a funny story
Okay.
because I was not the favorite, right? And so we didn't date in high school. We knew of each other, and again, I got in an altercation at school and ended up getting moved from her school, and then I ended up going to the military, and we kind of lost track. I can tell you the first time I saw her, it was, I mean, literally like getting hit
Like
by
stars. Bing.
yes,
Okay.
and it's still to this day
Like the Northern Lights that I
it
missed last night.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Um, it was amazing. So I end up going to the military, and I get this letter from, I don't know who it was, and the way she wrote it was like in this circle. It was the craziest thing with this highlight pen, and at the end she said Susie, and I couldn't believe it because there
And
she
you knew who
is.
that was
Yes,
immediately?
immediately.
Okay.
And we hadn't been in contact for quite some time. So to get a letter, she's in college,
Hmm.
so. I ended up seeing her in my first opportunity to go home on leave, and then we just started dating as I went through this rigorous training for years. So the training consisted of basically bouncing around the United States, going from the best schools to the best schools, and one of those was in Key West, Florida. It's combat diver qualification
Hmm.
course. So we're in Key West. We're going to military free fall school at the time at Fort Bragg, water survival school back in Florida. I mean, so everywhere. So we were just keeping the communication. These are the days way before emails and cell phones, right? So it was just letters and
You just had circular notes you wrote to each other.
phones. Yep. Yeah. Phones.
Oh, rotary
Rotary
phones.
phones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was her sophomore year of high school. I got orders to Korea. Of high school, of college. I got orders to Korea, and it's one of those points, decision points as a young man or maybe a young woman you make, and you meet this person, you absolutely love them, and you're like,
Should I stay or should I go?
yeah,
Yeah.
fish or cut bait. And
Tough decision.
I was a tough decision. And I think as I reflect back on that time, do you marry her, and spend the rest of your life happy, or do you let her go and then spend the rest of your life looking for her? So obviously I married her,
Yep.
and our honeymoon was to Korea, just she and I, and no running. Well, we had running water. We didn't have air conditioning. We were downtown, this small town called Songtan, outside of the base. I was part of a small little team. So we had our own little compound. It was super cool. But that was our first year of marriage.
Well, that's a pretty interesting story, and I mean, a lot of adventure in that. So it's, I don't nothing wrong with now. We want to go to Korea for a vacation, so right, you got to
Yes.
go when you're beginning your career. But the theme that I keep hearing is the family
Mhm.
family connections, and you're at your first week. This is your first week at the county as county manager. And we've heard family a lot in your messaging. And when you talk about things, you really extend that familial perspective here as well. So what do you think that you learned from your mom, from Sue, from the Army, from the Air Force, all these different opportunities to be around family that you sort of is your mantra or your kudo,
Right.
your
If first of all, like to me, I don't know what the measure of success is, but if I look at my family in that photo, that 100% is
Mhm.
it. And why I'd like to spend a lot more days on this earth, if the good Lord took me today, my only
Yeah,
complaint would be more time. But
right.
other than that, when you look at my family, they really represent the best of who I am, and I couldn't be prouder of them. So I have an older son, Frankie. His wife is a doctor, a vet, Dr. Westbrook. Zach is our middle son. He married a girl. Her name is Madison. Um, Frankie, he's in the Army. And my daughter is a vet. And then Zach is in the Army, and so is his wife. And then our daughter is a nurse at Fort Worth,
Hmm.
and our son-in-law works on an oil rig. He's like the number two guy. And then in that picture is Lucas and Miles, who are our
So
grandsons.
new grandbabies.
They're hilarious, out of control. So love it. So
There's nothing better.
going back to the family piece, I think we spend so much time with each other
Hmm.
in our professional environment, and I think it's not what we accomplish; it's what we mean to each other,
Hmm.
and that to me is extremely important. Regardless of whatever role I'm in, I do believe that's the magic in life, because, like it or not, the institution will be here long after we
Right,
leave, and it won't even hiccup when we're gone.
right.
However, what the lasting impression is our relationships, and to me that's so important,
Mm.
because I believe that's the stuff that transcends boundaries, right?
And
You want to come to
I've
work.
never really people that have jobs that don't. I mean, not everybody loves their job, but you spend so much more time in your workplace. So I always felt like it was, make that the best it can be, kind of a thing. So it sounds like that's kind of what you set the tone here at the county, to have people expect the best at work and bring your best. And so if you had to tell me what your motto would be for the county family, what would it be?
As far as a motto concerned, I think instead of a motto, I think there's some tenets that I want us to focus
Hmm.
on, right? And number one is that um, every day you're having a huge impact on everybody around you, and really they deserve that best version of yourself. Does that mean we're not going to have, off days? Of course we are, but I think consistency is extremely important. And then recognizing that you have such a critical role, I think, in the success of our operation. That's one, right? That ambassadorship, and then ensure that you're being the best you can be.
Hmm.
The other side of that is the leadership component, which I think anytime you walk into an organization, the opportunity to provide criticism is necessary, welcome, but how that is done is also is important, right?
Hmm.
So we can't just criticize.
Yeah,
We
the
have to,
words matter.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have to do it in a way that actually builds people up, empowers them, and at the same time provide recommendations to
Hmm.
that. So
Hmm.
we're no longer afforded the opportunity just to say, this ain't working. What I want to hear, and I want to empower people, is that this ain't working, but here's my recommendation on how to
Right.
do it better. And that to me is extremely important as well, as building a culture where people are safe enough and
Hmm.
feel secure enough to provide some good feedback. Because if they don't, unfortunately, I think institutionally, we're going to probably find ourselves in a very difficult place.
Well, we look forward to that kind of a perspective shift. It's nice to have the support, and I know that a lot of the employees will certainly appreciate that. You've been here a week, so this may be an unfair question, but what surprised you so far, or what has there been a aha or
I,
like,
I don't
wow, I did.
I don't know that anything's really surprised me, and I mean that with all humility. I think I understand there's the human component, right? Regardless of what your role
Hmm.
is and what your title may be, as long as there's people involved, right? That that's been pretty standard for me. I think a couple things I was super impressed by, and that is the employees of this county.
Hmm.
Like, we are so lucky to have them, and I mean that sincerely. You could see it, right? They are here giving us their best, and that's inspirational. If I was surprised by anything, I don't think that's probably the appropriate term, but I think the only thing I'm constantly reminded of sometimes is how fallible we are, and I think with regard to some of the issues that we are tackling is just it's a lot of misinformation wrapped in emotions,
Hmm.
and that's a dangerous place.
Hmm.
But I not surprised, and I
Yeah.
think we're addressing it
We
appropriately.
also live in a world where distrust of institutions and government in particular is sort of rampant. So I think that particularly is important with your philosophy of how we treat people. It starts with the people, but our employees, our taxpayers, they all rely on an efficiently running operation here. So I'm sure we can look forward to that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about your service in Olathe. And I mean, we both love Olathe, and
Yes,
you were there for about 18 months, I
I
believe.
was.
So, tell me a little bit about what you learned about Olathe and maybe ag. I mean, because this is, he now has cows. So, cows and horses.
We have
And I
cows.
guess I would say that Sue is more the cow person, right?
Yeah,
She wanted some
Sue.
cattle.
I would say my wife Sue is really just the boss. I tell
Okay.
people I move heavy stuff and kill bugs.
But you get to come to work and be the boss here. So,
Well, I don't know if I'm the boss here. I just listen to smart people and make decisions.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty easy. But yeah, she's really, it's funny. She's an ag ed major from NC State, and her master's is from UNC Chapel Hill in school administration. But her heart has always been on animals.
Hmm.
And I got a funny horse story.
Okay.
So she was not working. She was working. She just wasn't getting paid. She was taking care of the kids. So she's a stay-at-home mom, and we have 3 kids. And I managed to kind of save some money. And I had a friend of mine who had horses. He's like the horse whisperer, and his wife was a horse vet. And I had this money saved, and I wanted to buy Sue a horse. And I was so excited. So she's not around. I go see John. His name was John. I'm like, hey, John, I need your advice. I said, I want to buy Sue a horse. I got money saved. What do I do? He says, you want my advice? He goes,
But don't buy a horse.
buy her a puppy and get her riding lessons. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to buy her one horse. You're going to board the horse.
Ah.
And then you're going to start realizing how expensive it is to board the horse. And then you're going to say to yourself, well, I can take this money and then just buy a bigger place that I can board the horse there and save money. So next thing you know, you'll have a farm or a ranch, right, with at least 10 acres because that's what you need. You'll get rid of your little sissy truck outside. You're gonna have to buy a big truck because you got to haul the tractor.
Wow, John's kind of a downer, isn't
He
he?
was, but you know what's funny? He absolutely foreshadowed my entire life. That's exactly. I went against his will.
Because you can't have one horse, you have to have
No,
more. You
and
can't
we
have
were
one cow, right?
yes, we boarded that horse. Next thing you know, we bought 15 acres. I had a tractor, a big truck, a horse trailer. It was kind of funny, and he just looked at me and laughed.
So
And I'm like, "Well, you did it."
the old "I told you so."
However, the lifestyle,
Yeah,
I love it. You know,
right.
growing up in Oakland, it was really a concrete jungle. The
Hmm.
only parks we had where they carved houses out and they just replaced that with grass and put a swing set on.
Hmm.
So to have my kids grow up in a place where
Yeah.
we're out there running around and
Hmm.
I didn't have to worry about them and with dirt bikes and tractors and, shooting skeet.
Yeah.
It was
Space
just,
is nice, isn't it?
it was
So
nice.
back to Olathe. So you were there. I know it was a hard decision for you to leave Olathe just because of what the
Mhm.
town means to you and what you were able to do for the town. So, what was a highlight for you in your service in Olathe?
I think the community members
Hmm.
and I take no credit for any success we had because it was a team effort. And I say that, objectively because, culture will eat strategy for lunch.
Hmm.
And in this case, the culture and the communities of Olathe was extremely receptive to my type of policing, which was very much intended to engage at all levels and to be inclusive as possible. So the community was never surprised as to the direction we were going and to be visible, right?
Hmm.
So there was no relationship that we didn't have, and there was nothing that we didn't want to be a part of, and we enjoyed that. So the relationships there were difficult for me to leave. It wasn't um, anything that I took lightly. And when I accepted the position, I thought that was it, but I'm a spiritual person and I always say God's got the plan. You just, have to follow and have faith. And when I was asked to put in for this position, my reluctance was purely centered around the men and women I had the opportunity to work for and the community I had to serve. But then I started looking, if I'm given the opportunity to serve at a higher level and still take care of Olathe, ultimately that's what put me. And then I don't have any regrets. Do I miss Olathe?
Hmm.
Absolutely. Do I miss playing a police chief? Yes, but
Well,
uh,
we didn't move Olathe, so we still get to go there, and we still get to. In fact, we're going to be at their football
their football
game
game on
on
the
the
18th.
18th,
Yep,
and there's going to be a corgi race,
race.
which I don't
The little legs, right? The little guys,
little bitty.
little legs should be good.
So it should be funny.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what our role is going to be there, but I too love the town of Olathe. I think
Mhm.
the people just really heartfelt. I love going to the town meetings because that board is super fun and they're effective. And so,
Yes.
yeah, it's been a really great opportunity. But so we're glad to have you here, and we're happy to see what happens. I think it's always, we talk about change, and you and I both know change sometimes can be, you know, change is easy. You go first, um, but change is good,
Yeah.
and it gives people a fresh start, um, for those who have had maybe a different kind of an experience. So I look forward to the challenge of getting to know you better. We think we made a really great choice,
I'm humbled by that. Thank you.
and yeah, I think that you've already demonstrated in one short week. In fact, you started w- before you even were actually the day to start. So you're very anxious just to get going and, sink your teeth into this job. So I love that enthusiasm. So what's one last thing that we need to know about you before we sign off?
Um, Very committed and loyal to the people that I have the opportunity to serve. And it's not anything I can tell you. It's something I will show you,
Hmm.
and we'll do that together, right? Whatever our direction will be, and I look forward to growing leaders throughout that
Yep.
process.
I love that. So thank you for taking time to chat. Really appreciate it. I hope you got to know our new county manager, Frank Rodriguez, a little bit better. Um, and we're always here. We're available. Frank will take your call. He'll call you if you need anything. So thanks for watching County Talks. Not boring, but important. And we'll see you on the next go round. Thank you.